very well-connected source connected to the medical examiner, the LA County Medical Examiner, which currently has the body. And that source has doubled, tripled, quadrupled, and sextupled down, actually, now, saying that the body was indeed partially frozen when it was received by law enforcement.
David the singer finally gets named as a suspect in one of the most twisted cases we've seen. But here's the crazy part. This dude is still walking free while evidence keeps piling up that he allegedly froze a 14-year-old girl's body and dismembered it. But wait, it gets even more messed up. TMZ is allegedly running defense for this man, spreading fake stories to muddy the waters, while the LAPD is blocking the medical examiner from releasing the real cause of death. We're talking about a whole conspiracy to save this dude from facing justice, and I got all the receipts to break it down for you. I can't lie, I've never seen anything like this shit that is happening. The manipulation runs so deep that his lawyer is allegedly tight with TMZ executives, and they're playing both sides to create confusion.
But I will say this, there are some things that, and I'm talking physical evidence that was at that house that is, there could have been greater plans as far as getting rid of her, and it's scary, sadistic stuff.
Stay tuned till the end, because what I'm about to show you about how David and his legal team are manipulating the media will absolutely blow your mind, and you'll understand why this case is way more twisted than anyone imagined. Now, before we dive into this absolute madness, let me keep it 100 with y'all about what really went down and why this whole situation is so messed up. We're talking about Celeste Rivas, a 14-year-old girl who went missing and ended up deceased in David's Tesla trunk. This ain't just some accident or overdose situation. We're looking at what investigators are calling a calculated incident that's been covered up for months. So check it. Back in early 2025, David allegedly ended Celeste's life at one of his rental properties. According to investigators and the private investigator working this case, this dude didn't just harm her. He allegedly froze her, decapitated her, and cut up into pieces. Then he stored her remains in a freezer for months before moving her body to his Tesla right before going on tour, trying to set up the perfect alibi. But here's where it gets real spicy. David's lawyer Blair Burke is allegedly tight with Harvey Levin from TMZ, and they've been playing both sides of this story to create confusion and doubt in the public's mind. This is some next-level manipulation that goes way deeper than just spinning a story. We're talking about a coordinated effort to obstruct justice and protect a suspect from facing consequences. The whole thing started when Celeste, who was reported as a missing person, somehow ended up in David's circle. According to law enforcement sources, they met online, and she was allegedly living with him at his rental property. That right there should have been enough to charge him with harboring a missing minor. But somehow, this dude was walking around free for months, while her body was literally posing in his car. So let me break down this timeline for y'all, because it's absolutely insane. And the more you understand the sequence of events, the more you'll see how calculated this whole cover-up has been. The private investigator Steve Fisher has been calling out TMZ for spreading false information, and when you look at the pattern, it's clear someone's been feeding them lies. This ain't just bad reporting. This is deliberate misinformation designed to protect David.
I wish I could say more, but for obvious reasons I can't. But it doesn't have to do with how she died, but maybe how they were planning on ultimately getting rid of her, and how maybe that Tesla was just a holding spot at the time, and things just, their timing was just off as far as getting this done. But there's a few things that were just like, will blow your mind.
First, TMZ reported that David was fully cooperating with police. Turns out that was complete cap. The LAPD confirmed he never cooperated at all. Think about that for a minute. A girl is found deceased in your car and you're not cooperating with police? That's suspicious as hell, but TMZ was out here making it sound like he was helping the investigation. Then they pushed this story about the body being frozen and the cause of death being undetermined. But here's the kicker. The medical examiner already determined the cause of death months ago. The LA County Medical Examiner's Office even put out a statement saying they received a court order from the LAPD to place a security hold on all records. Now this is where it gets really crazy. The medical examiner's office said this practice is virtually unheard of in other counties, and they previously denied a similar request because there wasn't sufficient justification. But now, suddenly, the LAPD got a judge to seal everything? That tells me they got some serious evidence they don't want getting out yet.
I'll just be honest, we really don't know nobody has stepped forward, even wanting to be anonymous off the record and said, listen, I know what happened. So it's very bizarre that there's this many people involved that have stayed this quiet for this long, especially like when they're young. And it's like they're all lawyered up, to be honest with you. And I don't know if that's because maybe he's providing counsel to all of them, but there's no leaks coming out. And that's kind of bizarre with this many people involved, younger people that kind of want to save themselves, and they're blowing their careers up. So it seems like there's something that they're trying to protect, but I don't know what it is yet.
Steve Fisher, the private investigator, went completely off on Twitter, calling out the freezer story as complete nonsense. He broke down the science. If a body was actually frozen and sitting in a hot car trunk for months in California heat, it would be completely thawed. There's no way it would still be partially frozen like TMZ claimed. But here's what's really wild. People on Reddit had been theorizing about a freezer for weeks before TMZ ever reported it. There were posts showing David had purchased a chest freezer, and there were even TikToks he made that seemed to reference keeping someone at 40 degrees, which is morgue temperature. These fans were connecting dots that investigators probably already knew about. The timeline gets even more suspicious when you realize David went on tour right after allegedly moving the body to his Tesla. The private investigator believes the last person to drive that car wasn't even David. It was allegedly someone in his crew who helped with the cover-up. That person is now being called the second suspect, and investigators think they were involved before, during, and after Celeste's death. The real kicker, though, is how TMZ keeps flip-flopping on their stories. And when you understand the strategy behind it, it becomes clear this ain't just sloppy journalism. One day they're saying the body was dismembered, then they take it back, then they say it again. They're creating so much confusion that when the real facts come out, people won't know what to believe. This is straight out of the tobacco industry playbook. Doubt is our product. Create so much misinformation that the public can't tell what's real anymore. And it's working because people are starting to question everything, even the legitimate evidence against David. Now, this ain't just about one fake story. This is about a coordinated effort to save David from facing charges. His legal team knows the evidence is overwhelming. We got Tesla data showing exactly when and where the car moved, cell phone records, social media location data, and multiple witnesses who can place him at the scene. The Tesla data alone is probably enough to convict him. These cars record everything: when they're driven, where they go, how fast they're traveling, even when the trunk is opened. If Celeste's body was in that car, there's going to be a digital trail showing exactly when it was put there and by whom. But instead of David being arrested, we got TMZ running stories about how the cause of death may never be determined and how there's not enough evidence. Meanwhile, the LAPD is treating this as an active investigation, and they've identified multiple suspects who allegedly helped with the cover-up. The manipulation goes even deeper when you look at how TMZ has been reporting on the second suspect. They're not naming this person, but everyone on Reddit figured out it's probably Neo, someone who was extremely close to David and was allegedly the last person to drive the Tesla. This dude has been partying in LA like nothing happened while a girl's body was decomposing in his friend's car. What's really messed up is how David's whole crew has been acting. Instead of showing remorse or cooperating with police, they've been scrubbing their social media, going private, and continuing to party. Neo even posted some tone-deaf stuff on social media that seemed to mock the whole situation. The private investigator has been calling out Neo specifically, suggesting he knows way more than he's letting on. And now with TMZ reporting there's a second suspect, it's looking like the walls are closing in on David's whole crew. But yo, let me break down something even more sinister that's been happening behind the scenes. The medical examiner's office released a statement that's absolutely wild when you really analyze it. They said they're dedicated to serving our community with full transparency, but the LAPD got a court order to seal everything. The medical examiner even said they previously denied an LAPD request for a security hold because there wasn't sufficient justification. But now suddenly there is? That tells me something major changed in this investigation. Probably someone started cooperating and giving up information that could compromise the case if it got out. The court documents that were filed to seal the records mention protecting witnesses and/or informants who are cooperating with law enforcement. That's huge because it means someone in David's circle is talking. Could be Neo, could be Asia, another person in their crew, or could be someone else entirely. What's really interesting is how the LAPD described this investigation. They're not just calling it a homicide investigation, they're specifically calling it an investigation. That's a big distinction because it means they believe this was intentional, not accidental. The evidence they've gathered is probably overwhelming. We're talking about Tesla data, cell phone records, social media posts, witness statements, and now potentially someone from the inside cooperating. David's legal team knows they're cooked, so they're trying to muddy the waters with media manipulation. The TMZ connection is particularly suspicious because Harvey Levin has a history of working with celebrity lawyers to manage narratives. If Blair Burke really is feeding stories to TMZ, that's a coordinated PR campaign designed to create reasonable doubt before David even gets charged. At the end of the day, David's situation shows how money and connections can manipulate the media and potentially obstruct justice. We got a 14-year-old girl who was allegedly taken from this world, her body desecrated and hidden for months, and the main suspect is still walking free because his legal team is playing games with the press. But here's what really gets me heated. This whole situation could have been prevented. Celeste was a missing person, and somehow she ended up living with David. Where were the authorities? Where was the follow-up on missing person reports? This girl fell through the cracks of the system, and now her family is dealing with the most unimaginable loss. The fact that David was able to allegedly keep her body hidden for months while going on tour and living his life normally is absolutely disgusting. And his crew knew something was up. There's no way you're that close to someone and don't notice they're acting strange or that there's a suspicious smell coming from their car. The private investigator has been doing the work that law enforcement should have been doing from day one. He's the one who figured out the timeline, identified potential suspects, and called out the media manipulation. Without his work, David might have gotten away with this completely. What's really scary is thinking about how many other cases like this might be happening where the suspects have good lawyers and media connections. How many times has TMZ or other outlets been used to spread misinformation to protect wealthy suspects? The LAPD says accountability is coming, and they're protecting informants who are cooperating with the investigation. That tells me someone in David's circle is ready to flip and tell the whole truth. When that happens, this whole house of cards is going to come crashing down. The real question is how long this manipulation can continue before the truth comes out. Every day that David walks free is another day that Celeste's family doesn't have justice. Every fake story that TMZ publishes is another insult to her memory. But I believe the truth always comes out eventually. The evidence is too overwhelming. The investigation is too thorough. And now someone's cooperating with law enforcement. David's legal team can try to muddy the waters all they want, but they can't change the facts. What are your thoughts on how David's team is allegedly using TMZ to spread misinformation and protect him from charges? Do you think the media manipulation will work? Or will justice prevail? Drop your comments below and make sure you stay tuned because I'll be covering every single update in this case until justice is served for Celeste. This story is far from over, and when the real truth comes out, it's going to be even more shocking than what we already know.